Hello and welcome to this show. I'm the host. Israel has launched airstrikes against targets in Qatar. So what does it mean for the tiny Gulf state, which prides itself as a tolerant Muslim nation? We'll discuss that in a bit. But first, some breaking news from Turkey. After 2 days of deliberation, the Turkish parliament has rejected sending troops to the Gaza Strip. What does it indicate for Turkey's future role in the conflict? And will Erdogan still be seen as a leader of the Muslim world? We'll discuss that in a bit. But first, let's look at the Israeli airstrikes in more detail. Early on Thursday morning, Israel reportedly carried out airstrikes on 2 key locations in the Qatari capital, Doha. The first was a warehouse belonging to Qatar's notorious Al-Shami group. Then Israel targeted a local Hamas office. No casualties have been reported yet. And this is what we know about the strike so far. Well, it was the first time Israel has struck inside Qatar. It also comes just 3 weeks after an attack on the group Hamas in southern Lebanon. Both attacks were carried out with the approval of the U.S., and they reflect Israel's attempts to dismantle Hamas's regional infrastructure. But why did Israel choose Qatar for this operation? Well, the small Gulf state has become a hub for Hamas activities in recent years. It neighbors Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Bahrain, all of whom normalized ties with Israel in 2020. Through Qatar, Israel could potentially target all these countries. At the same time, the tiny Gulf state offers limited targets for Israel to strike. So there's a very little chance of an escalation. It should be noted that Israel has struck other countries in the region before. In August, it carried out airstrikes on an airport in Yemen. Last month, it hit targets in Syria and Iraq, but those were not seen as major escalations. That said, Israel's actions are causing unease among investors. On Wednesday, the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange closed down 1.8%. For the year, the benchmark index has now declined by around 13%, and it reflects the impact of the ongoing conflict on investor sentiment. On Tuesday, Israel launched its most ambitious airstrikes against Gaza. Some 290 tons of bombs were dropped in 40 minutes. As many as 26,000 people were displaced. More than 7,000 have had to leave their homes. They've become internally displaced people, or IDPs. This is a grim milestone because Gaza now has the world's highest rate of IDPs per capita. The economic impact of these airstrikes is trickling in. According to one estimate, the October war has cost Israel $2.5 billion so far. How much of that would be recovered through international aid remains to be seen. Meanwhile, the Palestinian economy is bleeding money. Since the start of the war, 66 factories have shut down in Gaza. Around 12,000 people have lost their jobs. I know it sounds like a lot of money, but bear in mind that Gaza's GDP is only around $1.5 billion. That's according to the World Bank, so you can see the kind of damage we're talking about here. With the economic situation worsening, will the international community push for a ceasefire? Well, so far, there have been no takers for a truce. Egypt had proposed a 5-day humanitarian ceasefire. Israel rejected it. Now, Turkey has stepped in with a new proposal. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan spoke with Prime Minister Netanyahu on Wednesday. He wants a 7-day pause in hostilities. But once again, the proposal did not mention the word ceasefire. Instead, it calls for a temporary suspension of hostilities. Frankly, nothing concrete has emerged from Ankara. After all, Turkey is a NATO member, and it's been criticized for not condemning Israel's attack on Gaza. In fact, Erdogan defended Israel's right to self-defense. So don't be surprised if this new proposal also fails. Clearly, the world is waiting for a decisive moment in the conflict, and when that happens, it will have wide-ranging consequences. We'll keep a close eye on all developments. Reporting from Istanbul, Turkey, this is our news service.